Whitney's boyfriend at that time was never named as a suspect. Billy Connor died of cancer in 2014, and the camper was removed from the property. But in its heyday, it was considered a safe zone for drug users.
His house was a house to go to. He had the drugs there, you could get high there. He knew every single girl, from the red on down to the last. But Billy knew something. Of course he did. And I really wish he was still alive today to where he could tell his side of the story.
I remember him, pointing a finger at my daddy whenever they got in a fight, saying, "Oh, you know what you did? You killed them girls, you murdered." But he just did it just to try to, hurt my daddy. That's all. It wasn't. He knew that his brother had nothing to do with it. He was really just trying to, because he would do anything he could to piss you off.
My daddy's smart, but he ain't that smart to where he can just cover up evidence. And the way that they do it, it seemed like it was a trained person. Somebody who knew how to cover their damn tracks.
Yeah.
But I feel like my daddy knows more than what he's saying.
I had seen Billy at the gas station. I don't know how long it was after we had found Whitney's body. And I walked up to him and asked him what happened to Whitney. And he had tears in his eyes. And he just told me, "I loved your sister. I would have never did anything to hurt your sister. She was there that night. She did come to my camper, but I didn't kill her." And at that moment, you don't think of all the questions you should ask. I was just angry. And I think I more approached him with accusations. And I didn't think to ask any questions. I just felt like everyone was lying. I felt like if he didn't have anything to do with it, then he was covering for his brother.
They want to put this show on that Frankie Richard done this to my sister, Frankie Richard done that. When Frankie Richard ain't done that, bro. Now we mess with each other and we had a little something to do with each other when we see each other, talk. If she needed a ride or something like that. But if for no other reason, out of the respect for Mr. and Miss Dubois, I wouldn't have done that growing up.
I've been around Frankie in different situations in gas stations and stores, and I didn't get the creep vibe from him that so many people are like, "Oh yeah, it has to be him because he looks rough and he's done this and he's done that." I've never gotten that. I guess because of the way that we found everything out, I totally had someone else pinpointed for it.
It's Sunday, May 13th, 2007. 2 days after fourth victim Whitney Dubois is last seen, and 1 day after her body is found. Her grieving family is gathered together when the doorbell rings.
There's a man and a woman outside, and they ask if we're the family of Whitney Dubois. And the man introduces himself as Jamie Trahan, and the woman's name is Camille, which he introduced as his wife. And I had never met them before, and I didn't know who they were. He said, "I'm so sorry for your loss," and we asked him how he found us. And he said that he knew Frankie Richard, and that he went to Frankie's house to ask him if he knew the family of Whitney. And Frankie said, "Yeah, I do."
According to Frankie, Jamie had come to his house earlier that Sunday morning.
Jamie drives up. He said, "Man, I wish there was something I could do." I said, "About what?" He said, "Well, I found that girl in the road." I said, "What girl?" He said, "Whitney Dubois." I said, "Man, she was at my house last night." I said, "I know what you can do." We loaded Jamie up in the vehicle, and we went. I brought him to the Dubois' house, brought him in and introduced him, and I walked out of the house. I knew the Dubois family very well, and here's the dude that found their loved one in the middle of the road. Let's put them together. Maybe the family can find something out, put some pieces together.
Jamie is crying, and he said, I really feel so bad about this and finding her, and I wanna put some money down on her funeral. So we later on found out that he went to the funeral home and he wrote a check for $1,500 toward Whitney's funeral.
For Brittany and her family, his gesture immediately raises a red flag.
It was almost as if it was an indirect admission of guilt, as if he felt remorseful for something.
Jamie tells Whitney's family that he and several friends were driving down Earl Duhan Road in the pre-dawn hours of Saturday, May 12th, when they spotted something in the road.
Jamie says they thought it was a deer in the road. Basically, you have several people in the vehicle that all saw something in the road. Jamie swerved, but they did not stop. And there was some argument in the truck as to, was it a deer or was it a body?
Have you ever seen a dead deer? Anybody in their right mind could tell the difference between a dead deer and a dead body.
Brittany estimates it was around 5 in the morning at this point, and pitch black.
No one stopped the vehicle. They continued on.
But about 2 hours later at 7:15 a.m., Jamie returns to the place he saw the body. And this time, he calls the police.
Jamie's story to the police was that they were back here riding around looking for vehicles to buy, that they were looking for a car for sale. Obviously, there's no vehicles in the area to buy. Later on, finding out that Jamie, in fact, didn't have any money to buy a vehicle. He was actually extremely high that morning and had been getting high all night. And he claims to have had a large amount of drugs on him at the time. And that was the reason for him going and coming back, was because he had to basically unload his pockets and get himself together before he could come back and call the police.
It's not until after Whitney's funeral that the Dubois family learns the check Jamie wrote for burial expenses bounced.
At the time, we didn't know him, and we didn't know that he was a drug addict himself. Her and I, we both feel there's some involvement by Jamie, but she feels like Jamie is responsible for Whitney's murder. I feel like Jamie was set up as a fall guy. I think that Frankie harmed Whitney. I think that Jamie was probably around when it happened. I don't think that he participated directly or condoned what happened, but I think that he was scared of Frankie, and he ended up getting stuck
Indirectly.
helping him disposing of the body. So I think that he knows what happened and he knows who the killer is. In the past several years, I've always wanted to speak to Jamie myself because I always felt like maybe he had more information.
But Brittany finds that contacting Jamie today proves difficult. He's currently behind bars, awaiting trial for petty burglary. So Brittany locates his mother, who lives outside Jennings.
Jamie's had a hard life, but kind-hearted. If it wouldn't be for the drugs, he'd be a good person. At that time, when everything happened, Jamie was doing drugs. He was. The only murder they going after him is for Whitney, because they said because he went there the next day and to offer to help pay for some of the funeral, they said if he wasn't guilty, he wouldn't have done that. But they don't know my son like I do. You know, he will help anybody, and he will. And that's what he did. He wanted to help out because the parents didn't have the money. When he called me yesterday, I put some minutes on his phone and I talked to him and I said, look, Whitney's sister is trying to get a hold to you. She wants to talk to you. He said, Mom, he says, you know I didn't do it. I said, I know you didn't do it. And so he said, okay. He said, sure, I'll talk to her.
Press 1 to accept this call. Hello?
Hey, this is Brittany. I'm not trying to put anybody in jail at this point. I'm really just trying to find out the truth and what happened. everybody's trying to shift the blame toward you. But I don't have anything more to go on. I don't have anything. Like, I don't know how to prove that they're full of.
Yeah, everything points to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
My bad.
I know that that's not the case, but I don't know how to prove otherwise. In my heart, I feel like Frankie killed Whitney.
I know he did. I know he did. I've had too many people tell me this. I've been out on the streets. I've had too many people say it. I would put my life on that he did, you know?
Jamie claims to remember that night, and he reveals some explosive information Brittany has never heard before.
2 days before she come up missing, I went over to Billy Connor. When I went inside the camper there behind his mama's house, they had somebody curled up in a sheet. I didn't know it was her for sure. Frankie Richard just rushed me out of there. I was told she was me. Alright.
Wow.
That's the reason why they got rid of the fire.
How long before you found her on the road? You seen her in that trailer under that sheet?
Like 2 days.
Yeah, that's about right. All right, bye.
This is the first time Jamie Trahan has ever made these allegations publicly. But he offers no evidence to back up his statements. In response, Frankie Richard denies any involvement in Whitney's death and points the finger right back at Jamie.
I think he must have known she was gone. Now, did Jamie Trahan put Whitney there? Or did somebody else put her there as innocent as me? Because I know I didn't put her there.